let's see, 1 point perspective. First thing you want to do is set up a horizon line. If you're doing a horizon line, you have the choice of putting your vantage point wherever you want. So if you're looking up at something, you're low and looking up, your horizon line would be up here. If you seem to be kind of up at a higher vantage point looking down, your vanishing point would be below. So most times people put it sort of like right in the middle, and that's fine. I tend to, for this demo purposes, I am going to put it like right here. Just for, you know, just because. Okay, so this is a horizon line. Now, because we're doing 1 point perspective, it means that we're going to put 1 point on our horizon line. And in theory, you can put your dot anywhere on here. It just means it's kind of like your focal point, where all the activity kind of goes to 1 point. So for the sake of using a lot of my paper, I'm going to put my vantage point all the way over there. So that's a vanishing point. So we're just doing 1 point perspective, so that just means 1 point. I had a great question earlier. If I do multiple boxes, do I make different points on the horizon line? And for this, no. We're just going to use the 1 point and make all the boxes go to that 1 point. So first thing you want to think about when you're doing 1 point perspective is that you are using essentially like a shape to start. When we do 2 point, we'll use a line to start, but for this we're going to use something like a rectangle, a square. It could also be a block like letter, like the letter J. It could be a star, but we're starting with the face of it, so it would be a 4-corner sort of box. And so I'm just going to put it, I'm going to start below the horizon line. I'll show you one that cuts through your horizon line, and then I can explain one that is above. So let's start this. We have a vanishing point here. I'm going to start my box. I'm going to use a triangle to keep my lines nice and straight. So you want to just keep in mind parallel lines like this all need to keep very straight. If you wiggle them and kind of go off, you're going to get something that is weird. It doesn't come out as even. And in some cases, like in 2 point, it doesn't allow you to work the formula, and it doesn't allow you to find the back. So what you want to do is start a box of some sort. Because I'm using graph paper, it just makes the whole process go a little faster for you. So yeah, I'm going to do this. And little oh, hello. All right, so I have a box, and so I now have 1, 2, 3, 4 corners that need to be stretched to your vanishing point. Let's stretch. The key to getting this to be kind of accurate each time is to make sure that you really pinpoint your corner and your vanishing point, and I like to kind of line my ruler up and pivot. But if you go slow and get your ruler to not move, it's not easy, especially when demoing. And then do down here. Hopefully I can get this. There it goes. See, little wiggle. Trying not to be too wiggly. And then this. Line up. Try to really get it that you hit the corners. And so what you have is something that is stretched. Now comes the part that sometimes is hard for people to do, and that's to have some free will and decide how big is this going to be. And so you just kind of decide it could be really narrow, it could be really long, and it's totally up to you. I'm going to probably make it a little longer on the side. And I decided I'm going to stop it right there. So my box is here and a little longer on the back side. So I'm going to darken down this. Again, trying to get it so it really is as accurate as possible. You have to, this is one of these things where you have to be kind of perfect about it to get it to really just be in square, as they say. So now this is the weird part, and this is how I was taught, but it is a little, can be a little weird. Use a formula if you've been taught this in a different way. Just keep an open mind to my way and see whatever works for you. I know that somewhere in the back here, between this line and this, is the back corner. So we have the two sides. We just have to find the back here and the back side there. So like this and that. In order to do that, I find that if I line my ruler up with something that's really parallel, and if I just slightly pivot it up, like just move it up, I can intersect something back here. So you're just trying to find this line back here. And so here's what I do. I take my ruler and I just kind of go whoop. And if I'm lucky, try to keep this as parallel as possible. Just want to make sure that, there we go. Somewhere in here will be this back line. So I made it very light. And what happens is I follow this one that already exists, and I notice that it comes somewhere right there as an intersection. I'm gonna do it with the bottom. So this, I'm just gonna push this up until it intersects with somewhere back here. So the idea is like I'm gonna lean that there, and if I push it up, and if I'm keeping it as parallel as possible, just trying to keep it lined up, I think it needs to go slightly more like this. And what happens is it too is like right there. So if I drop a line in back there, this is going to be that magical back corner that's missing. So you're making this box like a glass box, so you can see all the corners of it. So I'm going to darken down the things that I do know for sure. So I know that this goes from here to here. So I'm just darkening it so that you can see it. And then I know that this goes from here to here. So I'm going to darken that, carefully lining it up. I know that this, because I moved it up to here, goes to there to there. Oops, sorry. I'm shifting my paper so much. There we go. And then finish this last one right here. Just darkening it just so that you can see it better. And so the last thing that's missing is this. There. So let's darken this down. So now I have an empty box that's seeing all sides. Again, I started with the face. I stretched all four corners to the point, right? Then I decided how deep I wanted to make it, and I decided I liked it this far back. I drew just a line down, so now I had this side and this side. And in order to figure out what the back side, this whole, you want to find out what this is, and you want to find out what this is. In order to do that, you just use these two parallel lines and line them up, just go up, draw a line to see where it intersects, put your ruler here, move it up, find out where it intersects, and that's that missing little area. So I'll show you with a ruler really quick. I put it here. I just have to go from here up to here. So it's like boop, 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 boop. So line it up, move it up. Same thing down here. Line it up, move it up. And that kind of gives you these two lines that intersect with this. And then in theory, it absolutely takes you to the back magical corner that was missing. So that's how to do a box in 1-point perspective, as simple as it comes. You can also, let's do one that intersects this whole horizon line. So keep in mind a couple of things. There are parts of this paper that can be very problematic for making boxes. One is putting a box here can be very problematic because you can't really see the one side because you're stuck on so far off to the side that you're not able to see it. When you take a box like this and you move it closer to the horizon line, you're also taking the top that you normally can see and you're squishing it, because as it comes up closer to the horizon line, everything gets flattened. And then when you go away from it, it opens back up again. But anytime it comes close to the horizon line, this goes skinny. So one of the things that I like to do, it's not that you can't do that, and in some cases you kind of have to do that. Like if you were trying to draw something that was accurately kind of close to a horizon line, it gets a little weird. But for the sake of doing this, what I would probably say is that if I had free will and I could just put a box somewhere that spans the range of this, I would probably do it top and bottom, maybe a little bit tall and skinny for this one. But let me start off by showing you what maybe not to do. All right, I'm gonna make a box that kind of eventually runs the whole space here. But here's sometimes what students will do. They'll start a box. Let's say we're gonna start one that's, let's start it here. I'm gonna start this box. I'm gonna draw it here, let's say here. And I'm gonna draw it, yeah, tall and skinny. And so they start this box and they stop it right at the horizon line. I say, no, 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 no. Because it makes it really hard impossible to see the top. And so for the sake of just proving that you know how to do something that goes through the horizon line, I would say just, even just move it up slightly. For me, I would probably take it all the way up through. So let me show you kind of where it starts. If I were to do this, I would not stop it here. I would keep going just for the sake of going all the way through. And let's say stop it about here. That's not bad. Okay, so you have a rectangle. It goes through the horizon line. So you want to take all four corners and stretch it to the vanishing point. Again, we're using just one vanishing point and putting lots of little boxes on this one page. So here's what you want to do. Go up to the corner and as best as you can, hit the corner perfectly. Hold your ruler so it doesn't slip and get that as close as possible. Again, the things that go wrong is when your lines are off. So there, you want to go over to here. Notice this one, as it gets closer to the horizon line, as this box gets up, 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 this bottom gets a little bit tight. Yeah, it makes it a little hard to see. It's getting, like this one was big, like you could see a lot of space here, but this one's really narrow. Same with the top, it'll be a little bit narrow. It's just the nature of going close to the horizon line. There you go. Okay, so now I took all four corners and I stretched it. Now how deep do you want to make it? Well, you could stop it here, make it a really long box. Let me try to push this here too. Is it still in the paper? Are you still seeing? Yep, okay. So you can make it really narrow or you can make it long, it's up to you. I think I will make mine kind of from here down. You just gotta watch, you gotta remember you gotta go from here to this and all the way down to the bottom. Let's see if I got that. And so now I have the beginning of this. I'm going to darken the side. Darken this. All right, so got two sides. So this would be essentially like an opaque box, something that you could not see through. But because we want to know what's on the inside, we're going to make it so that we can see the back. And so again, what you want to do is take your ruler, line it up at the top and bottom. Like I did before, remember you're going to go from here. This is easy because it's not too far, whereas this one, I went from the bottom and moved it all the way up. This is just a short distance. So you take your ruler, you make it parallel with the bottom, and if you're careful, hold your paper and kind of just move up and try a line there and see if that works. As long as you can kind of keep this as flat as this, You kind of have an intersection. It looks like it's probably right there. But we'll know better once we figure out what the top is and see if they line up together. So I'm going to go to the top, line it up with this one, and all I have to do is pull it down from here to here, and that is a very short distance. So if I line it up here, I'm going to pull it down to there, shoot a line across, and it is, depending on the, it's slightly off. Let me check. Oh, I see my line. So if you don't hit your corners exactly and your dot exactly each time, it throws things slightly off. And you can tell this by just going back and double checking your lines to make sure that they line up. And it just takes a little bit of finagling to just kind of see. So check to see if it's not like kind of this. So you want to make sure it's as straight as this is. You want to make sure that this is always touching the same point. And my guess is that this is actually slightly, there. It is slightly over to here. There. And this needs to be, slightly down. I was off slightly. So in theory, it's getting closer. So that's, I'm going to check my bottom to make sure my math is right. So this is slightly off. How is this one? Let's see. Oh, this is slightly off too. So it's a good, there it is. It's right there. It's not over here. It's actually right there. And again, that's just because it's a tight space and you just have to, and that's going to line up. It's just do the natural thing. I mean, this happens a lot. You just want to make sure that you are, I'm going to use my, if you use a triangle, it does kind of help keep everything lined up. That worked. Good. So it's a really good lesson to just check and recheck to make sure it all lines up. But again, this is really hard to see because it's very pinchy, but that's the nature of going through a horizon line in 1 point perspective. Everything is a little weird. What I would probably do is erase out all my extra lines that I don't need and just leave the box as a result. So I would probably go back in and just like clean up some of this junk that's on this side. I would also probably erase just inside the box where the horizon line is. Look at this. If you get rid of this, it makes it feel so much better. Like you're literally just looking at the box itself. So get rid of some of the back lines and you start to really just see what you need to see. So these are very flat, and the reason is it's because it's near the horizon line. Below it, you're going to see more of an open box. If I'm doing a box that's above the horizon line, just remember, this is what it will look like. So I figure if you can do above, you can do below very easily. Another trick is if you keep taking your paper and turning it around like this, it helps you to see. There's some people who see things better from the top down versus from the bottom up. It depends on what kind of visual person you are. A lot of times if you feel like you have mistakes and you can't see where the mistake is, if you flip your paper around, it will help you see it a little bit better. But again, the closer that you get to the horizon line, it gets a little bit flat. The closer you get to the vanishing point, it gets a little strange. So if given the option, work very large and work away from your areas to just demonstrate how you do this. So you want to do 3 of these. So something that goes through, something that's above, and of course, dun dun dun, something below. So you'll have 3 boxes on 1 sheet of paper. And that's for 1 point perspective.